What is going on, guys? Good morning, good morning, good morning. What is going on? Let me check who's on the stream. What's going on? Cesar, Sean, Ed, Dev, OP, Caesar. What's going on? He's saying, I'm here. Can we start? Anthony, what's going on? Anthony, how you doing, man? Michael Nori, Philip. All right, so I'm not even looking at the questions yet, just seeing a bunch of good mornings, but I already know that there's going to be a million people saying, "Oh, why is the market up? Why is the market up?" Well, the market is up because the market is up. There is no reason needed for the market to be up pre-market. In terms of inflation came in at 8.5% year over year. That was pretty much in line with expectations. We talked about this in a previous video looking at UBS's data, and UBS's data came in saying that they expected inflation to be 8.5% year over year. It came right on the nose. Excuse me. It came right on the nose, right? And UBS, again, in that last video that I talked about inflation, UBS has been right all year. And, it came in at 8.5%, just as expected. However, I think based on most of the commentary that we see this morning, most analysts expect that this is going to be the peak. So remember that this inflation data here, right, we're in April. And I'll get to your questions in a second. So please leave me questions, if you guys want me to answer any technical questions, anything regarding options or stocks or whatever you want me to go over charts, leave it in the chat. And instead of super chatting, make sure that you're donating to St. Jude's. You don't need to super chat me. Just donate it and leave your question. All right. What was I saying? Okay, so this right here, right? So this April CPI data that came out at 8.5%. For those of you that just joined, CPI comes in at 8.5%. Higher gas prices slam consumers. How many of you guys knew that? How many of you guys knew that inflation was going to come in hot, and that the higher gas prices as well as the higher commodity prices from March were going to be reflected in CPI? My guess is every single one of you knew that, right? And you would be right. So with that said, inflation came in as expected. Not hotter than expected. And now, please don't misconstrue what I'm saying. It doesn't mean that inflation came in, that 8.5 is good. It just means that inflation came in as expected based on what we know about commodity pricing in March, okay? So it didn't come in. I think that folks were worried about 9% or higher, maybe even triple digits or higher. I think that was the word. Triple digits, sorry. I mean, we might as well be double digits or higher, okay? I think that was the worry. The fact that it came in at 8.5% was in line with most estimates. And most analysts think that this is the peak because, remember, it reflects the previous month's data. So that means that in March, if everything was effed, because the geopolitical situation up until this point was at its worst in March, right? Gas prices were the highest in March. Wheat prices were the highest in March. Other commodities were the highest in March. Because of that represented the peak. And actually, April's data, which is going to come out in May, is actually going to show a decline, right? And then obviously we have which we'll talk about in a second, the rising federal funds rate and selling assets off the balance sheet. Now, those of you that are questioning why the market is up, remember, it's only 6:34 a.m. on the West Coast. We're 4 minutes in to market open. Don't act like you guys haven't seen this before. Don't be surprised if this thing flushes. Don't be surprised if this is a bear market rally or not even a bear market rally. It's just a dead cat bounce where smart money are propping up the market and will later on dump on the rest of the people that are FOMOing. These are very tricky times. We're talking about a rate hike cycle during, what is this? I'm not even sure what that is. Wow. We're talking about a rate hike cycle during a period of economic growth. economic slowdown, right? We did have economic growth. Now we're slowing down, and we're about to hike rates into that momentum, into that downward momentum. We don't usually do that. And the times that we've done that out of necessity because inflation has gotten so high, i.e. the early 1980s, we hit a recession, right? But these are tricky times because there's still really nowhere else to put your money. And there's still a lot of liquidity out there. There's a ton of, until the Fed starts acting aggressively to take out the liquidity. And if you guys have questions on selling assets off of the balance sheet, how the Fed funds rate actually removes liquidity out of the system, let me know. I will be happy to get into that. But for the first time, we are also seeing, and for the first time in a long time, we're actually also seeing the 10-year have a minus 2% day. And the 10-year was just rocking, right? And that's part of the reason why stocks were dropping. Now, remember that bonds have an inverse relationship to demand, right? The price of the yield of bond yields have an inverse relationship to demand, meaning that when bond investors are pouring into bonds, the yields actually go down, right? When bond investors aren't buying bonds, the yields go up because they have to attract more investors. So in this case, the yields were going up because bond investors were not buying bonds. And so much so, they were not, the rate at which they were not buying bonds, right? They were not buying the 2-year bonds at a rate even higher than them being passive on the 10-year bonds. And that's what caused the inversion. And for those of you that have been following the story, this is the worst inversion since 2019 and actually dropped lower than 2019's inversion. But we are also tracking very aggressively, or I guess astutely. Maybe aggressive is not the right word, but we're tracking this very astutely, this 10-year, 3-month inversion, which is still pretty wide. Now, this has been a better predictor in terms of timing of a recession. So once this starts dropping and what we call flattening, then things start to get dangerous. Remember that once the 10-year, 2-year inversion flashes, it takes an average of 7 to 24 months before seeing a recession. And yes, this has signaled a recession every single time since 1955, okay? So that is the summary for this morning. Inflation comes in as expected. Most analysts expecting inflation to drop. Markets are up right now, but already lost half of their gains as of the time of this, not recording, but as of the time of this live. Markets already lost half of their gains here. And it's going to be rocky and volatile for the rest of the way. One other thing before I get to your questions, remember that this is a midterm election cycle. April is usually the strongest month or second strongest month, depending on what metrics you are looking at. And during a midterm cycle, however, April is usually the peak. April to September is very volatile during a midterm election cycle like we are in right now in 2022. And the last 3 months of the midterm election year are usually good because the midterm elections are over regardless of the outcome, regardless of who wins big in the midterm elections. Remember, the U.S. stock market doesn't really care who wins the elections. The system is set up so that either Republicans win or Democrats win. We don't have third, fourth, fifth parties in the U.S. And it's set up that way on purpose. That's not a conspiracy. You can look up the history of these things and why that is. But the markets like certainty. And so once elections are done, regardless of who ends up being elected, the markets usually do well. So that's why the last 3 months of a midterm election cycle are usually pretty stable. But April to September, very rocky. And this is not even considering the price instability and the inflation that we've suffered in 2022. So, you know, if you're looking at this asking why are the markets up, it's just going to be volatile. Dead cat bounces are a thing. I mean, don't act like we haven't seen this all year. You know, we've seen this during FOMC meetings. We've seen this where it takes a couple of days and then the market starts dropping. Then people are panicking again, right? Learn how to zoom out and read the macro view. All right, let me get to your questions because I'm sure there's a lot. Irv, for the love of God, I'm going to mute you if you continue to spam the markets. I mean, spam the market, spam the chat. All right, let's see. Hoping for it to be slight under, but I fear it's above expectations. Okay, we already talked about that. Why is the market up? I just talked about it. Where is TT? I'm here. These must be old. Wow. Hi from Istanbul. What's up? Gul Perchin. What's going on? The Kid OZ. What's going on? Transcend the present. Rise and grind. What's going on? Mr. J, Reagan, Sanjeev, Christopher, Muhammad Malik. Ramadan Mubarak to you guys if you guys are celebrating, by the way. T-Bay Global. Doc H, what's going on? Ramadan Mubarak to you, brother. That's my friend in Dubai. Nick C, Ed. All right, any questions? Figures are cooked. In reality, it is a lot higher. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of analysts, not that the figures are cooked, but that the definition of CPI has been changed in order for it to not look as drastic as it is. You're right. The definition, this is stopped clock imaging says, the way that they define CPI now, just in the same way that they define recessions now, I was reading the other day, is not the same way that we normally define recessions, which is a GDP decline 2 quarters in a row. There is a lot more that goes into it. And yeah, I mean, you can make the case that they are doing so because they don't want to panic the markets and investors. But you're right. The way that CPI is calculated has changed since the 1980s. That is for sure. You can look and read up on that. Now, the numbers I don't think are cooked. There's a big difference there, right? I don't think the numbers are fake. I just think that they conveniently change the way CPI is calculated. So the input, the numbers are real. It's just the way that they are, the equation is different, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Rate hike and balance sheet reduction of Fed. Not sure what you're talking about, Jonathan North. Good morning, TT. What's going on, Yash? We do have a third party. No, we don't. Do you have any watch list for today? Check the Discord. I'm doing a live stream, Dexter Mendoza. How many different things can I do at once? I'm only one man. But hopefully Goku will send out a watch list in the Discord. And for those of you that are watching this that are on the Discord, tell Goku to send a watch list. He'll do it for you. Hello from NYC. Love your channel insight. Thank you, Michael. Sup from Portugal. Hugo Silva. What's going on? Prachi. Good morning. What's going on? How are you doing? What happened to NVIDIA? Okay. And if you guys have questions, leave it in the chat. I'd be happy to answer it for sure. What's going on with NVIDIA as well as other chip stocks is we have had what we call downgrades, right? Downgrades. So NVIDIA downgraded. The reason is because, well, there are 2 reasons why we are seeing downgrades in chips. We are seeing downgrades in chips because, one, what we call demand destruction, right? Here we go. Baird downgrades NVIDIA, warning of chip order cancellations. Now, I've talked about demand destruction before, but demand destruction is basically when demand is forced to be suppressed because, 1, high prices or price instability, which we have, 2, supply chain bottlenecks, right? Which is probably the worst in chips than almost any other industry. Supply chain bottlenecks. And then obviously price instability because the materials required to make chips are very expensive. They're usually rare earth commodities, right? 1 second. Sorry. So that's what's going on with NVIDIA, AMD, is we are now seeing, and remember I talked about demand destruction a long time ago, and saying how that is one of the things I'm afraid of. You know, people talk about stagflation as opposed to inflation, right? Where we have rising wages, rising prices, but a declining economy and declining demand while those things continue to rise. That is stagflation, but also demand destruction, where how long can you keep prices up and supply constrained before people just give up, right? So I don't know, for those of you that have tried to order a computer recently, it took me 3 months to get this MacBook. For those of you that have tried to order a car recently, it took 3 months to get my car that I ordered. those things cannot last forever in a healthy economy, right? Like, how long are consumers going to keep up with that? Where not only are they overpaying for inventory, but they now also have to wait or get their orders even canceled. That is what leads to demand destruction, which is not great. And if you combine that with the fears of stagflation, which I don't know, really, I don't know what consensus of respected analysts are afraid of stagflation at this point versus inflation and a shallow recession. I don't know that stagflation is a common theme among the consensus of respected analysts, but for sure, inflation and a shallow recession. It doesn't have to be a deep recession. It could be a shallow recession, while the European markets will likely suffer a deeper recession because of their inextricable ties to what is going on in Russia and Ukraine. And their supply chain is way more affected by that conflict than ours is, right? All right. I have shorts and gold since 1900. Okay. Let's see. What's the difference between, I don't know why you'd have shorts and gold, Shoaib. Like, I don't know that shorting gold is the best use of your capital. And even if you do get a drop, I don't know that you're going to get a drop that is that beneficial to your shorts. You might have to use up a lot of capital to see a gain, a massive gain in gold shorts. I don't know. Up to you, but maybe you can explain that one to me, why you would short gold in a high inflationary environment. I mean, you're better off shorting the NASDAQ or shorting the S&P 500, right? When is a good time to start buying? Danny says, it depends on what you are buying. Obviously, it depends on what you are buying, right? If you're talking about blue chip stocks, then history shows it is always a good time to start buying. Now, obviously we're talking about very, very long term. But I don't think that the conditions are there, in my view, to unload all of your cash here, right? If you're trying to time the market, which is not always, especially from a novice standpoint, not a great thing to do, right? But if you're trying to time the market, there is and I can't remember where I saw this article. A friend of mine actually sent it, or she might have posted it in the Discord. But there was a great article that correlated buying when the VIX is up, buying blue chips mainly, or quality stocks mainly, when the VIX, by the way, is the volatility index, right? This is based on SPX options. It's basically the fear gauge of the markets. But when the VIX, right now the VIX is at 22.6, pretty low, and you see this bearish engulfing candle right now, today, right? Because the market is mostly green today. And the VIX usually is red when the markets are green and vice versa. But if you bought every time the VIX was 40 or above, meaning when there's ultimate fear in the market, just to give you a sense, 40 is actually right here. Let me draw it for you. 40 is right around here, okay? Or this white line. So we actually barely, we hit almost 40 in third week of January. And then also in last week of February, almost hit 40. But if you buy near 40 or when the VIX is above 40, and that's the only time that you buy, usually you're getting the best discount because those are when there is the most fear. So most stocks are down, including blue chip stocks, right? And if all you did was buy stocks when everyone was fearful, then your returns are exponential over a shorter time frame, right? Like we always talk about a long time frame. Meaning, if you buy the SPY, even now, like just pick a random time and you just buy the SPY or the QQQ and you waited 10 years, most likely you'll be good, regardless of when you bought, right? And you look at history and I mean, that's evident. That's evident. You wait most 10-year periods and you will be fine if you bought the index funds, right? But if you wanted a shorter term gain, right, a shorter term exponential gain, and you just bought, even if you just bought the index funds when the VIX was at 40 or near 40, which if you're just looking at the SPY would be here and here, right? then your gains in the market are usually exponential, and you're usually getting the best pricing. You're usually getting the best pricing. So, in terms of when is a good time to buy, it really depends on what you're going to buy. If you're going to buy quality, then obviously you want to buy at historically good ranges. Usually the longer term moving averages, 300-day, 400-day moving averages. If you know how to draw support, go to YouTube and type in the Traveling Trader technical analysis. I have a whole free video teaching you how to do support and resistance at a basic level, just allowing you to draw support zones. Like here, there's a support zone here. There is clearly a resistance, a line that used to be resistance that is support here. There's clearly another one here. So if you wanted to learn how to do this really quickly, it's not that hard. You don't have to draw patterns and know what an ascending triangle is versus a head and shoulders or whatever. Just all you really need are, if you're doing long-term investing and you're trying to find support and resistance, all you need are really horizontal lines. So go ahead and YouTube that and, watch it. And I guarantee you right after watching that video, I guarantee you that you'll be able to draw support and resistance easily. So again, don't click off the live stream, but after the live stream, put a note in, say, the Traveling Trader technical analysis. And by the way, I do a horrible job of this. For those of you guys that are on the live stream, hit that thumbs up. It goes a long way. It allows people to find this because, in my view, I think this is valuable. All right, let me get back to your questions. The bottom is in. Well, it depends on time frame, Drew. Time frame matters a lot. Are you talking about the bottom as a whole? Are you talking about the bottom in today, the bottom in the short term? It really depends on time frame. You can't say that the bottom is in if you're expecting a recession in the midterm, right? Tamir, what's going on, brother? How you doing? Are you watching anything for day trading this morning? How can I be day trading? I'm talking to you guys. But go ahead and check the Discord, right? Check the Discord. SPY is flying. Yes, holy shit. Look into that's crypto spamming. Do you anticipate a recession? I do. Mitt says I do, but I don't anticipate it for 2022. I just don't think that there's anything there that would cause a recession. Unemployment is at an all-time low. Spending is still good. The GDP is still strong. The dollar is strong. If inflation has peaked and the Fed is acting somewhat aggressively, we got to talk about the Fed in a second. And the Fed is acting somewhat aggressively to lower that. I don't expect they're not acting aggressively. If they did, then we would see a recession a lot sooner. Whoever donated $5 to St. Jude's, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. It says anonymous. They're giving out gas stimmies in CA. I assume CA you mean Canada and not California, because they're definitely not giving it out here. Would you get out of chip stocks in the short term? Kaz says, I don't know when you bought, so I couldn't tell you. It depends on your cost basis, honestly, and it depends on your distribution of your portfolio. Appreciate you and your viewpoint, Z. Keep rocking on. Thank you, Taylor. Hit that thumbs up, please. All right, someone said long on banks. So yeah, XLF is one of the few sectors that I think there's an opportunity there. For those of you that are fans of the channel, know that we bought XLE super cheap now because XLE is 80 all-time highs, and we bought XLE at the 200-day moving average back in December when this thing was trading at 50. We also bought it back in summer of 2021, back when it was 45 as well, right? XLV, the healthcare sector. If you guys have followed the best stocks to buy in a recession, XLV was on that list because history shows that healthcare, consumer non-cyclicals, and consumer staples, consumer non-discretionary consumer staples were and energy were the best stocks to buy during a recession because those things do not slow, their demand does not slow down during a recession, right? So XLV is all-time highs as well. And then if we look at XLP, which is consumer staples, and that is just a fancy way of saying necessities, things that consumers need, all-time highs as well. Walmart, as I told you, was a great recession stock, and we bought that at support when it was around the 130s, cracked all the way up to almost 160. That too is a great recession stock, right? Costco. I'm not saying buy these now. I'm saying there was a price point at which they were advantageous. Now you're just buying at the all-time high. Costco, same thing. So XLF, to answer, I think it was Alvin's question, I think that this is one of the sectors where there is still a bit of opportunity here going into a rate hike cycle, right? And this week is actually, let's take a look at it. Where is this? This week is actually going to be a big week. Excuse me. This week is actually going to be a big week for banks. So today is April 12th, right? Tomorrow, the 13th, we got BlackRock, JP Morgan. The 14th, we have US Bank and Wells Fargo. On the 19th, Citizens Financial, it's a smaller bank, I guess. And yeah, so we're talking about, and then First Hawaiian, obviously, smaller bank. So we're talking about Wells Fargo, US Bank, BlackRock, JP Morgan, right? I'm not sure when. Yeah. So I'm not sure when Bank of America reports, or did they already report? Not sure. But anyway, those are big banks, right? So look to tomorrow. If you're risk averse, you will want to wait until tomorrow. Trust me. You'll want to wait until tomorrow for the market to signal what they think of the bank stocks. However, in my view, XLF sitting at the 300-day moving average, regardless of what happens, I think is a good long-term buy. And if you look at JP Morgan, it is creating this double bottom here going into earnings. Now, as I said, rates are going up. The inversion is one of the things that was causing the banks to decline, right? This is not a good sign for the business model of banks. Inversions are not good because banks borrow at short-term rates and lend at longer-term rates. And if that is inverted, it means the banks are borrowing at a higher rate than they are lending. That is why inversions are terrible for banks. However, we are now healthily out of this inversion because inversions don't last a long time. They're usually flashes. And if the 10-year continues to rock against the 2-year, that is good for rock as in go higher now. If this curve now starts widening, that is good for banks because banks base most of their lending rates off of the 10-year. So when you get a mortgage, a car, a student loan, whatever, all of that is based off of the 10-year. So if the 10-year crashes to a point where it's even below the 2-year, that is not good for banks, right? Guys, if you're just joining now, hit that thumbs up. Let other people find this stream, please. Right now, the markets are back up 1.8% on the NASDAQ, 1.15 on the S&P, 0.85 on the Dow Jones. So we're seeing a lot of green in the mega caps for today. Again, is this a dead cat rally? Nobody can tell you that. Nobody can tell you that. I mean, the thing is, inflation came in as expected, right? If inflation came in at 10% and the earnings coming up were started to show signs of weakness, then I think the market would likely start declining and lose those gains. Inflation came in as expected. However, we still want to wait to see what earnings will look like. We have Apple, Intel, Tesla, Boeing, General Motors, Pepsi, Google. So many stocks are reporting earnings coming up within the next couple of weeks. It is the unofficial earnings season, and that is the first earnings that will showcase 2022 numbers. So, still there's a long way to go to answer whether this is a dead cat bounce or not. Nobody can tell you that, unfortunately, right? But again, in my view, if you're a long-term investor, you don't worry about that. You buy quality when quality is cheap, So like when I was saying that Apple and Google were down 18%, Apple was down 18%. Did anyone want to buy it? No, they want to buy it now that it's near 170 again. Tesla was all the way down. What percentage drop did we see on Tesla? And I'll get to your questions again. But, Tesla was down 43%. Did anyone want to buy it? No, they want to buy it now that it's over 1,000, right? A million questions. Do I buy Tesla now? You don't worry whether it's going to go down further. You are getting a discount on something that you believe in is great for the long term, right? That's really all it is. It doesn't matter if it drops further. Wouldn't you rather buy it at 690 versus 1100? Like, I know it's hard. I know it's hard to intuitively buy when something is red, but trust me, it is better than buying, obviously, when shit is near all-time highs, right? Market goes up during rate hikes, Alvin says. Yes, eventually the market does rocket during rate hikes, and moreover, the market rockets after inversions. I showed this before, but yield curve inversions do not have an immediate effect on the highs of the market and whether we see a recession. They're actually horrible predictors of timings of a recession. Horrible, right? You look at the last 4 inversions, it has taken an average of 17 months before the inversion happens and the market peaks again, and the bull market peaks again before we see the actual recession. An average of 17 months, and the average return from the point of inversion to that peak, the average return is almost 29%. So yes, rate hike cycles usually eventually end up in the long term being, or mid to long term, being good for the markets. Or I don't even know if they're good for the markets. The market just looks past them. And yield curve inversions are horrible predictors of timings of a recession, but they are good at predicting that a recession is within 7 to 24 months, right? Again, the 10-year 3-month is a much better predicting of timing of a recession. So when this starts inverting, then we are much closer to a recession than not. Right now, I don't think we are close to a recession, especially if inflation hasn't come in at double-digit year over year. It came in line, and most analysts are expecting this to be the peak, March, that is, right? Because remember, these are backward looking. So, yeah. All right. What options did you trade after market open? Dude, I know you're trolling because I'm here. Appreciate you, Z. You're one of my favorites. Thank you. Muhammad Malik says, Saudi selling oil to China in yen. No, it is not selling oil to China in yen. That is something that they supposedly threatened and then said that they don't know where that came from. Saudi Arabia is trying to play realpolitik, and they are horrible at it. And it is hilarious to watch that. For those of you that are actual fans of politics and history, it's hilarious to watch Saudi Arabia try to, play this realpolitik game in the region. They so want to be relevant. Saudi so wants to be relevant on the political stage that now that they are trying to use tactics that imperial powers have used in the region and in other regions over the years. And so they leaked this story supposedly where they were considering accepting yen for oil, right? When oil obviously has been priced in dollars since the 1970s, and it is very important for the U.S. for oil to be priced in dollars. And guess what? It is very important for Saudi Arabia to price dollars in oil because they have a shit ton of investments here, and they hold a ton of U.S. currency and U.S. treasuries. Why would you want the dollar to not be strong, right? There's a reason that countries continue to buy U.S. treasuries and U.S. currency. There's a reason that the dollar is strong even though inflation is fucked. Dollar is strong compared to the rest of the world, compared to the rest of the currencies. So Saudi Arabia is not they don't want the dollar to tank, but they are trying to use this as sort of a pawn in negotiating with Iran or in the US's negotiations with Iran because they hate Iran, right? So they're making these veiled threats. Oh, we're going to start accepting yen for oil, and then they come out and say, "Oh, we don't know where that came from. That is, false fake news or whatever." But I mean, they're so bad at the political brinksmanship, but yeah. So is there a risk the dollar could collapse in the future? Of course, but it depends on what you mean by future. What is your time horizon? Next 10 years, probably not. Next 100 years, obviously more likely, right? Of course there is a risk, yes. What do you see Tesla closing at today? Jibba jabba, you were just trolling, mate. I know you. You were just trolling. I sold my Tesla 990 calls way too early. All right, hold on. I missed a lot of stuff. Anonymous donated $20. Thank you to whoever that is. Thank you. How can I be day trading? I'm talking to you guys. Yeah, exactly. Anonymous donated $5. Thank you so much, whoever that was. Let's see. Get into a Costco, Walmart, or financials. You're too late for Costco. You're too late for Walmart. Financials, you have more of an opportunity there. For now, just sit and wait. We still got PPI report. PPI report is not as important as CPI report, Jose Ramos, but good idea. Buenos dias desde Mexico. Hey, what's going on, Edward Phillips? What's going on? These are at all-time highs. What do you recommend now? Gia Wen 10 says, Gia, there's not always a good time to buy things. There is such a thing as missing the boat. And right now, I think this is a no-buy zone, in my opinion. XLF, as I said, there's still a okay opportunity there. It's not the optimal time, but there's still an okay opportunity there with it sitting at the 300-day moving average. The chip stocks, I think, for the long term, since they have shown weakness due to demand destruction, and if you guys followed my video on the best stocks to buy for April, what did I say? Go back and watch that. I said wait until SOX L hits 27.28, and guess where we found support right now? 27.28. I'm not an oracle. This is just TA, and I was basing it off of historical support as well as the fib levels that you see here, and this is what is called the golden pocket. So no, I'm not an oracle. I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just basing it off of the charts that I drew. Doesn't mean it can't fall even further, but that to me is, if you are long term, is an optimal buy point for chips, right? But we do not want to see more demand destruction on chips. However, you're getting a much better entry on chips than most of the last couple of years, right? B of A reports April 18th. Thank you so much, Yash. Appreciate it. Or make a put and call on SPY a week out. Not sure why you would do a put and a call. Describe that strategy to me a bit more, and we can discuss it, Jose. All right. You mentioned earlier that we haven't seen rising rates combined with decreased economic decline since the early 80s, but I thought the early 80s was a time. Yeah, I mean, it depends. The 80s was an entire decade. So obviously there was a time of growth and then a time of decline, right? So, yeah. I think we are going to fail. Mr. Ether Robert Warner, I think we're going to fail. I mean, that's pretty ominous. Goog is not bad. Brainard will cause a market pull. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about the Fed member, right? Dory Hutchison donated $20. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for your donation, Dory. And I'm sure St. Jude's appreciates it even more than I could ever appreciate it. Rachel, appreciate your patience and explanations. No worries, Rachel. That is why I'm here. Just leave that thumbs up. That's all you could do for me so that other people can find this stream. What are the best sectors to buy during high inflation recession period? I went over it, Santosh. Consumer staples, energy, healthcare, right? And then to a lesser extent, banks, depending on what's going on with the rate situation. But you're too late on energy, too late on healthcare, too late on Walmart and Costco, too late on consumer staples. These are things that were at really good buy points just a month or two ago. But right now you're buying at the highs. And if you are so inclined to throw your money at the highs, fine. But I've been talking about this for a few months now. I can catch a falling knife with my teeth. Alan Zibelman says. Shaolin. Wu-Tang reference. April about to be the best month for stocks again. Maybe. At least for this year, because look at what this year looks like. Right? But March actually was the best month for March was an insane month for stocks. You know, March we had a year's worth of gains. A year's worth of gains just in 1 month alone. Right? So it'll be hard for April to beat that. It'll be very hard for April to beat that. My guess is that April will be more volatile than March, right? March we had basically from mid-March until the end of March, you had this straight line up. We gained what, 10, 11% in 2 weeks? I don't think we'll see that in April. I'll take bets on that, but I don't think we'll see that type of gains in April. Now, in April, you could see some very ugly price action. You're likely just basing that off of one day. I mean, look, zoom out, guys. Like, for those of you that are like, oh, why are the markets up? This is today. This little thing here is today. Fucking zoom out. Zoom out, right? All right, let's see. Any news that make oil going up today? Well, oil is still in a supply bottleneck, right? Oil is going to hover around these high prices for a while. Ayub Shah says, Saudi Arabia hater. Oh my God, man. Oh my God. All right. I'm talking about politics, fam. I'm talking about politics in the same way that if I talk about the Chinese government, or I talk about the U.S. government, or I talk about the Saudi government, I'm just talking about governmental moves, right? Has nothing to do with the wonderful citizens of the globe, of who I respect everybody, right? All right. Do you think this week is a bull trap? I answered this. All right. So if Russia takes Turkey, let's see. Hold on. Dexter Mendoza donated $5. Thank you so much, Dexter. Ayub says, this dude hates Arabs. All right. I'm not even going to, for those of you that know me, I'm not even going to entertain the stupidity of that. I'm not even going to entertain the stupidity of that. Fool, I can make you look so fucking stupid right now, but I won't. Boris Borisov donated $50. Appreciate you, Boris. Thank you so much for always watching. Thank you so much for donating all the time. Appreciate you. Boris, salute. Yes, Alan. We should salute Boris for sure. He said, thank you for all and the coaches do for us. And thank you for adding Bulgaria coaches. Oh, you're talking about Zlatin. Zlatin is the homie. Great coach. He's the crypto coach on the Discord. So we did add a bunch of coaches on the Discord, one of which is the great Zlatin, who is our crypto expert, our in-house crypto expert. So yes, his analysis is, I mean, you know, he's one of the best. He's one of the best, and I'm glad to have him around. All right, let's see. Damn, Z, I hear those Spanish skills. Carlos, I live in LA. I live in LA. Of course I can speak Spanish. How else would I, order from my favorite taco joint, Leo's? Cash is a position. You don't need to buy just because you have the money to do so. Yes, of course. Cash is also a position. Cash is also a hedge. There's a good time to buy and there's a less advantageous time to buy. What? I don't even know how to. Himi names God. Okay. You said sounds like a straddle. Oh, you're talking about the earlier person who was talking about buying a call and a put? Yeah, maybe. I doubt that he or she was talking about a straddle, but yeah, bull run. Best protect your neck. Another Wu-Tang reference. Wu-Tang forever. I'll never forgive Neo. What did Neo do? Let's see. All right. Well, somewhat up, but we are seeing this. We are seeing this doji candle here. We could see another drop on Neo. This could be an epic double top situation that takes us back to the mid-teens. Who knows? But Neo did shut down a plant. They were forced to shut down a plant due to supply chain issues, right? I saw that story come out. But, I mean, yeah, that guy getting himself killed me too. Not sure what you mean. Tony Mang, what's going on? Thank you for everything. Comfy Owl Designs. What an interesting name. You're awesome. Thanks for everything you do, my guy. Appreciate you. Give it up, Z. Where's this taco spot at? Jason Pereno. Oh, you are in SoCal. Okay, Jason. Leo's is on the corner of Venice and La Brea. Okay? Go to Venice and La Brea. You will see a gas station there with, it's either a turtle or a dinosaur. I can't make it out. Some sort of reptile. Okay? There's a weird gas station that's a one-off. with the logo of the gas station is a turtle or a dinosaur. In that parking lot, there's a taco truck called Leo's. There, you will get some of the best tacos you have ever had in your life. And if you go evening time and you get the pastor when it's fresh, trust me, you will just come back and thank me, okay? But it's on the corner of Venice and La Brea. How much is gas in LA? Gas in LA is $6 to $7 a gallon, depending on what grade you get. Knowledge Seeker donated $5 to St. Jude. Appreciate you, Knowledge Seeker. Thank you so much. Shell donated $10. Appreciate you, Shell. Thank you so much. Bro, thank you. I've been killing it with the day trading alerts. Spy QQQ. I owe you a beer. Ridden Fingers. If you're in LA, I will take that beer. Let's go have it. All right. Let's see. I just signed on. So did he say bull trap this week? Sorry. Rewind the tape. Quentin Quarantino. Awesome name. But rewind the tape. Julio Sarmiento donated $15. Appreciate you, Julio. Thank you so much. All right. Lemurs are weird. Sure. All right. Let's see. Any other poignant question? Cruises. Are you talking about cruise lines? Let's check on the cruise lines. Cruise lines are seeing supposedly a record number of bookings. I don't mind cruise lines here. I don't know that you will make that much money in the short term, but certainly for the long term, I don't mind cruise lines here. Carnival Cruise Line sitting at 18 and change. You have Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines at around 79. I don't mind them here. I don't think you will see a huge rally, but okay value stocks. They do have earnings coming up at the end of April, but I think they're sort of marred right now by rising fuel costs. So that's going to eat into a lot of margins of the travel stocks, right? I think once you see fuel go down and bookings remain up, then airlines and cruise lines can actually have their chance to see a nice rally because fuel costs are really eating into the margins of airlines and cruise lines. Yeah. Oh, you know what I wanted to check? Actually, I wanted to check on CarMax's earnings because CarMax reported earnings today, I believe, or they report after the bell. Let me see. No, they reported before the bell. And the reason that I wanted to check on CarMax, I was actually going to do an iron condor, but the liquidity of the options were not great and the bid-ask spreads were really wide. And the reason I was going to do an iron condor on CarMax is because used car prices are one of the inputs and one of the reasons that analysts think inflation has peaked is because used car prices are down, right? And CarMax obviously specializes in used car prices, but you could see that the market has priced in the decline of used car prices. And so I didn't think on earnings that we would see any sort of movement beyond this consolidation that we see at the end of this decline. I think the decline in car prices was already priced in. So I was really bullish on an iron condor strategy, which is a neutral strategy where you set a bottom and a top for the stock. And if it ends anywhere in between, then you get 100% of the premium that you sold that iron condor for. But I was going to do an iron condor, and the iron condor, as well as diagonals, verticals, etc., is explained all in the options course. So if you want the options course, check the link in the description. I may or may not have a sale coming up in Easter. I'm just teasing that right now. There may be an epic sale coming up in Easter. You may want to hold off. Insider info. But I wanted to do an iron condor on CarMax. However, the options I wasn't getting good premium for it. But lo and behold, that prediction would have been right. Because of the epic decline that we saw in used car prices already and how that is priced in. Let us check on the markets. S&P 500. All the big names are up. What is really down today? The pharmaceutical stocks, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, United Healthcare, Eli Lilly, Merck. These are all down today. But most of the market is actually green. JP Morgan, Bank of America up. Citigroup is up nicely too as well. Yeah, I mean, you're seeing the the usual suspects, right? Microsoft, Apple, Google, Nvidia, Amazon, Tesla, all up. The oil stocks all up with Chevron, ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips, all up as well. So, I mean, a pretty healthy day in the markets, but obviously, again, zoom out and look at what that means. We are basically this tiny, tiny candle that you see here. So, yeah, this is not going to really have an indictment on how the market moves for the rest of April. I think we do see these days where we'll see insane rallies and insane drops, and it will continue to be volatile. I am really looking forward. Oh, wow, it's super windy outside. I just saw like a huge leaf pass by the window. I'm really looking forward to mega cap earnings. That's going to tell a lot. All right. Let me get to some more questions. Meta is easy money right now. Yeah, I mean, I think there was a good opportunity on Meta. Certainly in the 200s, 180s. It's currently holding steady. The 50-day moving average, I can see it drop more. Meta's earnings are going to be very interesting. That's actually a great point to, who said that? Yui. That's a great point. Yui or we. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. It is not intentional. I promise you that. That's very interesting because this next earnings is going to be the most important earnings for Facebook that they've had so far. So they've been spending endless amounts of money into this metaverse pivot that we will not see for years, okay? Because how many of us are going to be in the metaverse or how fleshed out or advanced is the metaverse going to be in the near term? Probably not very much. It's going to take 5 to 10 years for this to really pay off, right? So you're spending endless amounts of money now, money that investors won't see. Remember, the stock market is forward looking. They are right now saying, hey, Facebook, prove to us that the metaverse is something that's going to be profitable, okay? If Facebook cannot prove that in the short term to investors, then investors have no reason to believe that the stock is worth more than it is. Now, its core advertising business, which has seen a slight decline in average revenue per user and daily active user growth, a slight decline for the first time, and I think it was 9 quarters, I want to say, 9 consecutive quarters. That also is not a good sign, because if you're just judging Facebook based off of the advertising platform and the huge revenues that advertising platform makes, then if you do not want to see a declining active user base, okay? Because that also says that, hey, this advertising model, yeah, it's worth around $200 per share as it was the peak before the pandemic. But we don't think, why should it be worth more if users are declining, right? It's priced where it should be at, in around the low 200s. So this next earnings, what we want to see from Zuck, you want to see what are his expectations for the metaverse timing-wise, what are his expectations for return on investment from the metaverse, and are we going to see a decline in daily active users and average revenue per users across platforms, Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, right? Are we going to see a decline in either of those things? If the answer is yes, then we will see Facebook create this double top here and likely drop back again to 200 or below that, okay? If daily active users is, if Zuck comes out and was like, oh, holy shit, the last earnings, that was just a glitch. We had a slight decline in daily active users, a slight decline in average revenue per user, but now we are back to normal. Then you will likely see Facebook start to go up and fill this gap, right? And that's, aside from from the metaverse, we're just talking about its advertising business, okay? In order for Facebook to get back to near 400, the metaverse has to be proven. The metaverse story has to be proven, because it got to 400 when it announced that it was pivoting and it was changing its name, pivoting into the metaverse, okay? But then once we hit this bear market, especially in the NASDAQ, where now every single stock, including the mega caps, have to prove their worth, then Facebook stock started taking a decline. And then last earnings came out and they said, holy shit, for the first time in 9 consecutive quarters, We're seeing a decline in daily active users. We're seeing a decline in average revenue per user. So we need to get those things explained and mitigated for us to see another rise in Facebook. If we are seeing further declines in those two metrics that I discussed, you will see Facebook go back down to 200 or lower, all right? Can you go over Starbucks chart? Yes. This is very ugly. So Starbucks also has earnings coming out first week of May. Now, I think Starbucks, what they have suffered from is a complete stall in growth. That is where Starbucks is suffering from. And remember, the stock market is forward looking. The reason that the stock market trades at multiples, and for those of you that just joined the stream, please hit that thumbs up. Stop and do it now, because it helps a lot of people find this valuable information, or information that I think is valuable, because I'm not feeding you guys bullshit here. This is all real facts, real data, real information. I try to give it to you concise, and I try to make it understandable for all levels, okay? Starbucks has seen a massive pause in growth, and the stock market is forward looking, and the stock market doesn't see a need for Starbucks at the moment, maybe until next earnings, to grow further or to trade at higher multiples as it has done before when Starbucks was growing, okay? So I think the next earnings will be very telling. Do I like an entry here? This pattern scares me, right? This pattern here, this is called a distribution pattern. So anytime you see sort of these rounding tops, this is called a distribution pattern, very different than rounding bottoms, which are bullish, okay? That's called an accumulation pattern. This right here, I don't like to see, especially at the end of these long downturns, okay? It can be a bearish continuation. And there is, unfortunately, a long-time support for Starbucks at around 71.50. So right now, I would be hands off Starbucks. Unless you dig into the balance sheet, you dig into its metrics, and there is something that you like about Starbucks is here. Let's go to it, okay? I'm going to show you guys how to briefly and quickly look at a company's valuations, okay? You want to look at, even if you don't have Seeking Alpha, you can get this on other platforms. You want to look at its financial ratios, right? Price earnings. What is it currently trading at? Currently, it's trading at 24 times earnings. Still highly valued, and that is at a price of $81. It's still trading at 24 times earnings compared to a sector median of 11.5. Not good. Not good. Price to sales, trading at 3 times sales compared to a sector median of less than 1, right? Other companies in the same industry. Now, you can argue that they are sort of the leaders in that industry, right? They are the moat goats, as I like to call them, of that industry. But yeah, I mean, they're still trading at pretty high multiples. And, I don't know that they are seeing great growth compared to the sector. So let's see. Revenue growth year over year, not bad, 31%, obviously, compared to a sector median of 25.8. So yeah, I mean, it becomes a question of whether their growth, it becomes a question of whether their multiples justify their growth or not. And based on this chart, I can see Starbucks unfortunately continue to fall further. Again, I don't like this distribution pattern at the end of a decline. So I personally will want to see how this plays out. You could, if you really wanted to, YOLO calls ahead of earnings May 3rd. You can YOLO some long-term calls and see if you can get lucky on those or whatever. But yeah, for me, Starbucks is a wait and see here, honestly. Hopefully that answers your question. All right, let's see. Did I miss any questions? KOS says hi with a peach emoji. What's going on, KOS? Beto, you have to try birria in Guadalajara. I did try birria in Guadalajara. I used to work in Guadalajara. I think we had this conversation before. But yes, and there's amazing birria here in LA as well. Amazing. That guy, 777, appreciate you, man. Always watching, always commenting, and now always donating. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for your $20 donation to St. Jude's. San Diego tacos are the best. San Diego has amazing tacos. You guys have a place called Tacos El Gordo, which is fucking amazing. And they actually have one in Vegas too. It's at the end of, they're about to get so crowded because of this. At the end of the Wynn, for those of you that are in Vegas or going to Vegas, you got the north side of the strip, right? You got the Venetian Palazzo Wynn Encore. At the end of that, there is a little souvenir shop, and then there is Tacos El Gordo. You want to hit up that taco spot because that is probably some of the best tacos on planet Earth. But yes, they originated in Tijuana, and they also are in San Diego as well. All right. Cool, guys. I've been on for an hour. I'm sure the Discord misses me, as well as the alerts that I'm about to give out. For those of you that are not part of the Discord, sign up. Link is in the description below. I may or may not be doing an amazing sale on the options course for Easter. May or may not. Look out for that. But yeah, Onsade, bro, come down to Puerto Rico. Gotta hit Flamenco Beach. I've been to San Juan before. But yeah, if that is an invite, hit me up. Always down to check out new spots. You ever had El Flaming in K-Town? No, I haven't, Mickey Lee, but I did recently eat at AB Steakhouse, which is the newest, I think they have a Michelin star Korean barbecue joint in LA. If you haven't been there, eat there. It is freaking amazing. All right, stuck in bingo at 140K shares. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. I hate hearing this stuff. Like, why do people overload on high beta stocks? I will never get it. I'm sorry about that, Joseph. And there's nothing you could do about those shares now, but you can learn for the long term how to rotate into quality stocks at better prices. Ritesh, your channel is the best. Appreciate you, Ritesh. Thank you so much. Starbucks is going to make a run soon. It could. Watch out for earnings. See what their growth is like. All right. Need that Easter sale, bro. Well, look out for it. All right, guys. That is it for this. Hit that thumbs up on your way out. Sign up if you want access to everything. Link is in the description below. We'll be hitting the Discord up. Check up on the trades. And yeah, Valley Maid, what is your ethnicity? Clearly you have some Hispanic in you. I'm a citizen of the world. I've lived in many places. I try to speak as many languages as I can, or at least say things in as many languages as I can. But yeah, my ethnicity is androgynous, I guess, right? I can be many things. That will always be a mystery. Some of you have guessed it right in the past, by the way. Stay safe out there, traders. I will talk to some of you on the Discord. For those of you, I will catch you on the next live stream. I appreciate all the donations to St. Jude's. Again, I'm sure they appreciate it much more than I could ever. But thank you guys for joining the stream. Stay safe out there, traders.